Breaking chaos, Hollywood edition. The City of Angels just erupted in the wildest scandal of the year. That flawless fairy tale everyone adored, reduced to ashes. Late last night, Los Angeles turned into a live-action soap opera when Nicole Kidman and Maggie clashed in a showdown that ended with sirens, flashing lights, and one woman fighting for her life. It all began with a top-secret pregnancy leak. One blurry photo, one mystery account, and boom, the internet combusted. He's the dad. She's carrying Keith Urban's baby. That single caption detonated timelines like dynamite. Hashtags, Nicole Maggie and Keith baby bomb ruled the globe. Fans panicked, tabloids howled, and Nicole, she lost it. Witnesses swear she stormed Maggie's building alone. No guards, no glam squad, just pure fury. Screams, tears, a shove. And then tragedy. Cameras rolled as Maggie hit the pavement, bloodied and clutching her stomach, paparazzi yelling, "She's pregnant!" Minutes later, ambulances, ICU, chaos. Headlines showed no mercy. Pregnancy scandal turns violent. Baby at risk. And then came the hackers. Anonymous, ruthless, and the story got darker. Then came the hackers. Dark, dramatic, and oh so cryptic. A rogue group dropped chilling messages allegedly linked to the couple. "If she talks, everything burns." The internet gasped in unison. Was it staged? Was this more than a catfight? What secrets were they hiding? Hollywood's golden duo just lost their shine. Keith Urban's silence screamed louder than a statement, while Nicole Kidman's fury echoed across every headline. And Maggie's trembling whisper, "He promised me everything," broke the web in half. This wasn't gossip anymore. It was war. Hollywood, the city that never sleeps, froze for 3 haunting seconds, then detonated. Hundreds of flashing cameras captured the chaos that changed everything. Nicole Kidman, once the image of grace, was now the eye of her own storm. This wasn't a role or a publicity stunt, it was a meltdown in real time. Maggie lay bleeding, and a pregnancy scandal was now scorching Hollywood like wildfire. It began so quietly. One blurry photo, a pregnancy test, allegedly Maggie's. Then the messages dropped, short, sharp, devastating. He's the father. She's carrying Keith Urban's child. 15 minutes later, it wasn't a rumor. It was a global explosion. Hashtags Marcher, Nicole vs. Maggie, and Keith baby bomb ruled the internet. Influencers feasted. Reaction videos flooded the internet before the hour even ended. The web doesn't just love scandal, it devours it. And this was a 5-course feast. By sunrise, Nicole Kidman stood outside Maggie's apartment, alone. No publicist, no bodyguards, just raw, shaking fury. Paparazzi, already camping after the leak, said they barely blinked before she appeared like a thunderstorm. She hammered on the door. Cameras caught every frame. Witnesses say she screamed words no one imagined coming from Nicole Kidman. A neighbor claimed she wasn't acting like a movie star, she was a woman betrayed. Hands trembling, voice cracking, she shouted, "You destroyed everything!" Maggie, terrified, opened the door and didn't even have time to breathe. Nicole lunged forward, sobbing, yelling. Phones recorded from every window. Then chaos. One shove. One scream. Maggie fell, hard hands clutching her stomach. Gasps filled the air as shutters clicked like gunfire. That single moment, Nicole's hand raised, Maggie collapsing, became the clip that would set the internet ablaze. That single clip, Nicole's hand in the air, Maggie falling backward, hit the internet like a grenade. Within 2 minutes, sirens wailed. Ambulance lights painted Los Angeles crimson as Maggie was rushed away on a stretcher, tears streaking her face. Someone's camera caught the whisper that shattered Hollywood's fantasy. "He promised me everything." That one line looped millions of times, tearing apart the illusion of perfection. By the time Maggie reached Cedars-Sinai Hospital, everyone already knew. She was pregnant. Headlines screamed, "Pregnancy scandal turns violent." Maggie critical, "Baby at risk." Nicole Kidman, once untouchable, now dangled by a thread. Outside the hospital, fans lit candles, waved posters, and cried for answers. One woman yelled at a live camera, "We trusted Nicole!" How could she? Meanwhile, Keith Urban's silence became the loudest sound in Hollywood. Reporters chased him to his gates, but he offered nothing. No denial, no words, just a pale, broken stare before vanishing inside. That silence? It ignited the internet like gasoline. Then came the next explosion. A hacker group called Dark Leaks dropped a chilling claim. They had proof. Messages allegedly exchanged between Nicole and Keith after the pregnancy revelation. When the pregnancy news broke, one ominous line surfaced: "If she talks, everything burns." "I'll finish it myself." Real? Nobody could verify, and yet it hardly mattered. The damage had already landed. People wanted blood. Justice for Maggie rocketed to #1 worldwide. Nicole Kidman's name trended not for awards or roles, but for what millions now assumed she had done. Her PR team scrambled in vain. The footage had already leaked. The storyline locked into place. Inside the hospital, Maggie lay in intensive care. Medical staff declined to comment, but leaked docs hinted at severe physical trauma and critical conditions for both mother and fetus. The photo of Maggie on a stretcher, hair matted with blood, one hand clamped over her stomach, became the week's defining image. Hollywood wasn't merely watching a scandal unfold. It was watching an empire fracture live. Fans who once spritzed Nicole's perfume and copied her red carpet looks now demanded accountability. Brands quietly paused campaigns. Studio insiders whispered about emergency damage control. The woman formerly untouchable had become an emblem of rage, betrayal, and blood. At the center of it all lay a pregnant woman in a hospital bed, and a city finally glimpsing the rot beneath the glitter. This transcended tabloid gossip. It was full-scale war, and the world watched. The morning after the incident, Los Angeles didn't hum, it roared. News vans lined the boulevards like an invading army. Police scanners crackled with reporters' voices. Helicopters circled above Cedars Sinai Hospital. Crowds chanted outside gates, candlelight vigils morphed into angry mobs, and social feeds became war rooms of accusation around the clock. Nicole Kidman's face, once the symbol of grace and red carpet perfection, now dominated every screen, not as a star, but as a storm. Maggie Baugh lay in a hospital bed, battling for her life and that of her unborn child. ICU lights flickered off sterile walls while outside hundreds gathered. Candles, posters, phones raised, demanding answers no one dared to give. What began as a quiet pregnancy rumor had detonated into a scandal so huge even Hollywood's power players couldn't contain it. The video of Nicole shoving Maggie had crossed 100 million views in hours. Every second was slowed down, dissected, and used as evidence by the court of the internet. TikTok was drowning in reaction videos. News anchors whispered one haunting line: Nicole Kidman, caught on camera. Inside the hospital, whispers spread about Maggie's condition. A nurse, voice disguised in an interview, said gently, "She came in crying, repeating the same words, 'He promised me everything.'" The nurse added that Maggie was frail, shattered, terrified, for herself and the unborn baby caught in this Hollywood war zone. Meanwhile, Nicole's PR team was in freefall. They'd spent decades crafting her image of poise and control, but no statement could silence that scream echoing through the LA night. Keith Urban finally emerged from hiding, but not to talk. Cameras caught him outside the hospital, head bowed, eyes hollow, ignoring the barrage of shouts. "Is it your child? Did Nicole know?" His silence poured gasoline on a fire already raging out of control. By midday, the hacker group Dark Link struck again, this time with audio. They dropped alleged voice notes between Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, and the internet imploded. Her voice, trembling with fury, snapped, "She won't destroy everything!" "Not after all these years." His voice followed, cold, deliberate. "Then make sure she stays silent. Real or fake." No one could say, but the truth didn't matter anymore. The world had chosen its villain, its victim, and its scandal rewriting Hollywood history. Nicole attacks Maggie exploded to #1 worldwide. Justice for Maggie followed within minutes. Protesters swarmed Nicole's Beverly Hills mansion, chanting for answers as the chaos spiraled. Meanwhile, Maggie's lawyer dropped a statement sharp enough to cut through the noise. "My client and her unborn child are in critical condition. We will not be silenced." That single sentence detonated the internet. Celebrities, influencers, and activists flooded feeds with black and white photos of Maggie captioned, "She didn't deserve this." Inside the hospital, security was tightened after suspicious vehicles were spotted circling the building. Rumors spread like wildfire as whispers claimed someone was trying to access Maggie Bell's private room. The hospital denied any breach, but credibility had evaporated. Nothing official felt trustworthy. Back at Nora Kincaid's home, insiders said she was frayed, crying, unreachable, possibly packing to flee the country. Others insisted she was holed up with lawyers, pleading for a way out. Paparazzi snatched a glimpse, hair tied messily, face pale, lips trembling as she was hustled into a black SUV. The internet immediately set upon her. Old Smiley interview clips were spliced with the stretcher footage. The halo around her career suddenly dangled by a thread. Major brands whispered about pausing campaigns while studio executives murmured about shelving projects. Then the real blast landed when new leaked texts crashed timelines. Messages allegedly between Nora and a trusted insider were brutal and blunt. She was never meant to go public. If this leaks, we lose everything. I'll make sure it doesn't. Those lines tore through feeds like a chainsaw. Screenshots proliferated. Comment sections turned into battlefields. People who once adored Nora were now calling her a monster, a fallen queen. Hollywood's darkest mask. That's what they called Nicole Kidman now. Meanwhile, Maggie Baugh's breathing steadied, but only slightly. Doctors warned her condition was hanging by a thread. Every heartbeat became the pulse of the internet. News tickers flashed updates like wartime alerts. Every few seconds, someone tweeted, "Is the baby okay?" Keith Urban stayed silent, until one haunting image surfaced. A blurry photo of him sitting in his car outside the hospital, head buried in his hands. It needed no caption. It screamed guilt, fear, and the collapse of everything he'd built. By evening, Micro Cancel Nicole dominated the globe. Crowds swelled, chanting louder, while TV panels turned her downfall into primetime sport. Could she face charges? Was this unraveling or something darker? But beneath the noise, the real tragedy lived inside that ICU room. Maggie, once a background name, was now the center of Hollywood's ugliest storm, a nightmare she never asked for. Her broken whisper, "He promised me everything," echoed on every broadcast. This wasn't gossip anymore. It was blood, betrayal, and power disguised as love. The Hollywood queen's crown had shattered before the entire world, and the fall was only getting bloodier. By the third night after the explosion, the chaos had evolved into a waking nightmare. This wasn't a scandal anymore. It was open warfare, broadcast live. Outside Cedars-Sinai Hospital, hundreds gathered with candles and posters of Maggie Baugh, praying and raging all at once. Drones buzzed overhead, capturing every tear and chant. News anchors dropped their polished smiles for grim tones, reporting like it was national crisis coverage. Nicole Kidman, once red carpet royalty, was now Hollywood's public enemy number one. That single push, the shove caught on camera, was no longer just a moment of rage. It had become a symbol: betrayal, fury, and the rot beneath Tinseltown's glitter. Inside the ICU, Maggie remained critical but stable, a phrase doing little to calm millions of anxious strangers refreshing their feeds. Her heartbeat had become the world's obsession, monitored minute by minute as social media turned her pain into a 24/7 spectacle. Across the globe, users refreshed their feeds like it was the Super Bowl of scandal. They weren't just following gossip, they were witnessing a legend burn in real time. And just when the flames seemed high enough, more fuel arrived. A leaked security video from Maggie Baugh's building surfaced on an anonymous forum. The grainy black and white footage showed Nicole Kidman arriving that night, hood up, alone, no driver, no bodyguards. Her hands shook as she pounded on Maggie's door. Then came the sound, one blood-chilling scream that froze the internet. The clip spread like wildfire. Within 3 hours, it hit 300 million views. TikTok overflowed with reactions. One creator cried on air. Another whispered, "This isn't scandal anymore, it's something darker." Nicole's legal team fought to bury the footage, but the internet never forgets. It never does. Never forgets. It never does. Then in a twist straight out of tragedy, Keith Urban finally broke his silence, not with a post, but a moment. Caught by a reporter outside the hospital, eyes red, face hollow, he murmured, "I never thought it would come to this." Then he walked away, head low, leaving behind a city drowning in questions and a world unwilling to look away. The internet turned on Keith Urban too. Accusations flew. He knew everything and did nothing. Some claimed he was protecting Nicole Kidman. Others swore the pregnancy was no surprise at all. Then came the nuclear leak. An international reporter claimed to have intercepted messages between Nicole and an unnamed contact just days before the fight. The words were bone-chilling. "She's not keeping this. She knows too much. If this gets out, it's over. Everything." No one could confirm the messages, but truth didn't matter anymore. Public opinion had spoken. Nicole's face dominated every trending tag, but not for awards. Hark cancel Nicole, hark justice for Maggie, hark Keith knew. 3 hashtags, 1 digital inferno. Inside the hospital, chaos struck again. Maggie's condition took a sudden dive. Paramedics rushed into ICU at 10:42 p.m., and someone in the hallway filmed the moment. The blurry video showed alarms screaming, nurses shouting, fans outside crying into their phones as live streams exploded with millions of views. People sobbed on camera, influencers launched emergency lives, and some even flew to Los Angeles just to stand vigil outside the hospital. One tearful woman whispered, "We've seen celebrity drama before, but never like this." Meanwhile, Nicole Kidman had vanished. Her Beverly Hills mansion was swarmed by reporters and protesters waving signs that screamed for justice. Monster! Tell the truth. Maggie deserves justice. The chants echoed through Beverly Hills as a helicopter followed a black SUV speeding from Nicole Kidman's mansion. Reports claimed she'd been moved to a secret location after furious fans flooded her with threats. But the damage was irreversible. The empire she'd spent decades building was crumbling in real time. One by one, studios and luxury brands cut ties. A top fragrance house axed her campaign, calling it permanent brand fallout. A major film studio shelved her next project indefinitely. Nicole's silence became her curse. When her team finally released a statement, "I'm devastated by what happened," the internet tore it apart within seconds. Comment sections exploded, "Too little, too late." Then came the gut punch. A nurse inside the hospital leaked a heartbreaking voice note of Maggie Baugh, weak and fading in ICU. "I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just wanted him to keep his promise." The world stopped. Millions replayed it in silence, hearts cracking, rage igniting. Hashtags erupted again. People demanded justice, even arrests. Some called for Nicole to be exiled from Hollywood altogether. By midnight, the hospital stepped forward with a press conference. A doctor finally stepped up to the podium, voice tight and tired, confirming Maggie Baugh was in extremely critical condition, and the baby's fate was still unknown. The collective gasp from the press corps was almost physical. Reporters shouted questions about Nicole Kidman, but the doctor turned and walked off without a word. This wasn't gossip anymore. It wasn't glitz premieres or magazine covers. It was a woman clinging to life, a pregnancy scandal that had detonated an empire, and a fallen queen whose crash was louder than anyone imagined. As night deepened, crowds outside the hospital swelled. Strangers who had never met Maggie held candles, whispered prayers, and wept together beneath flashing lights. And somewhere behind tinted SUV windows, Nicole sat in silence, drowning in the echoes of a billion accusations. The golden fairy tale of Hollywood royalty had gone up in flames, and the world was watching every spark die out. This wasn't just another celebrity meltdown. This was the moment the mask split. A woman was fighting to survive. An unborn child was caught in the wreckage. And the couple once worshipped as Hollywood's elite now teetered on the brink of complete destruction. Nicole Kidman's silence now screams louder than any denial. Keith Urban's empty stare outside the hospital speaks more than 1,000 press statements ever could. The footage of Maggie Baugh collapsing has carved itself into the internet's collective memory. This isn't gossip anymore. It's pain, betrayal, and a love story gone toxic. For years, they sold the world a picture-perfect fantasy. Smiles on red carpets, kisses for cameras, a forever written in gold. But forever was built on secrets. And when those secrets surfaced, they detonated everything. That one scream on a dark LA street will haunt Hollywood for decades. Millions are watching, billions are talking, and inside that ICU, Maggie Baugh, a woman who never wanted this war, is fighting for her next breath. The world demands justice, demands truth. This isn't about stardom anymore. It's about how silence kills, how secrets destroy, and how fast a kingdom turns to ash when lies ignite. Because tonight, Nicole Kidman isn't a movie star. She's the headline. Keith Urban isn't a hero. He's the question no one can stop asking. And Maggie? She's the voice the world can't unhear. This story isn't ending. It's just loading the next explosion. When the truth finally hits, it won't just shake Hollywood. It'll burn it to the ground. Justice for Maggie. Nicole Kidman. Keith Urban. Hollywood scandal. Hollywood scandal.